Yukiya is a loser who spent his childhood playing a game of pretend love with his best friend. However, everything changes when they grow up and she turns into a certified 10 out of 10 baddie, forcing him to finally lock in and actually rizz her up for real. It all started on a normal afternoon with Yukiya and Miku playing video games when Miku casually told him she loved him. Back then, Yukiya brushed it off as nothing more than a joke, but that joke eventually evolved into a game called the Love Game, with whoever managed to make the other's heart skip a beat by saying, "I love you" would be declared the winner. 4 years later, Yukiya and Miku are still playing, but almost nothing else has changed. Yukiya makes his move in a cafe and casually drops an "I love you" on Miku, but she'd already seen it coming from a mile away and immediately fired one back. The counterattack almost catches Yukiya off guard, and Miku immediately notices blush creeping across his face. She wastes no time calling him out, but Yukiya stubbornly denies everything and desperately tries to defend himself, which only irritates her even more. Before leaving, Miku happily tells Yukiya how excited she is for the upcoming school entrance ceremony, because she's really hoping they end up in the same class. Yukiya keeps his cool while she's standing there, but the second she walks away, his composure completely falls apart, and his heart pounds so hard it feels ready to leap right out of his chest. The truth is, Yukiya has reached the point where he's standing dangerously close to losing the love game for good. Looking back, there was a time when her constant "I love yous" never affected him in the slightest, but that all changed one day when she whispered those words directly into his ear. The attack was so sweet and unexpected that it completely shatters his defenses, and that's the exact moment he realizes he's genuinely fallen for her. Ever since then, Miku has occupied his thoughts almost non-stop. Later on, Yukiya finds himself imagining what life would be like if the love game simply disappeared, but before he could get too carried away, he spotted Miku walking alongside another boy who looked like he was moments away from confessing his feelings, and Yukiya immediately went into full panic mode. However, Miku rejected the guy before running straight back to Yukiya's side, and watching that happen made him realize that the love game has been the thread keeping the two of them connected all this time. Back in the present, the morning of the school entrance ceremony finally arrives, and Yukiya has even gotten his haircut to resemble the protagonist of Miku's favorite manga, hoping it becomes one of his secret weapons in the love game. But just before leaving the house, he suddenly stops and asks himself why he's so obsessed with winning in the first place. That's when the answer finally hits him, and he realizes that he's simply insecure and terrified that someone else will steal Miku away from him. Realizing that forces him to finally grow a pair of nuts and face his feelings head on. With his determination renewed, Yukiya heads downstairs and steps outside, only to find Miku already waiting for him. The moment he lays eyes on her, his legs completely give out beneath him, seeing that her outfit is just way too adorable for him to process. Miku notices his reaction immediately and quickly shows off more of her cuteness, while Yukiya desperately tries not to crash out over how unbelievably cute she looks. Watching him struggle makes Miku look back on everything they've shared together, and somewhere along the way, after they first create the love game, she slowly fell in love with him too. She's known for quite a while that her feelings are real, and the only thing she wants now is for Yukiya to be the first one to lose. Although she's spent years trying every trick imaginable to make him blush, she finds herself blushing seeing Yukiya standing there looking so hot and cool, especially with his new hair. Without warning, Yukiya suddenly pins her against the wall and leans in close, going full alpha mode. Miku desperately tries to hide the blush spreading across her face, while internally losing her mind over how ridiculously handsome he looks. Suddenly, she spots his opening, and without missing a beat, Miku reaches over, gently straightens his tie, and casually compliments how good he looks. The unexpected move lands perfectly, making Yukiya blush far harder than before. Smelling victory, Miku keeps piling on the teasing, but Yukiya refuses to surrender and grabs her hand. The surprise attack completely catches Miku off guard, and in the end, both of them turn so red that neither can honestly declare victory. Miku then tries launching one final attack by playfully hiking up her skirt to catch Yukiya off guard, but instead of folding like a gooning loser, he immediately scolds her, warning that doing something like that is genuinely dangerous. The two quickly slip into another argument before Yukiya's younger sister, Wakana, suddenly appears out of nowhere to remind them they're about to be late. The warning instantly throws both of them into panic mode. Yukiya and Miku race towards school side by side, with Miku pointing out how hard he's been trying to impress her with his hair and style. Her teasing eventually makes Yukiya come to a complete stop, causing Miku to wonder whether he's hurt himself or is finally about to admit defeat. Instead, Yukiya slowly turns toward her with the eye of the tiger, and the intense stare alone is enough to make Miku blush instantly. Satisfied with the result, Yukiya suddenly takes off running again, smugly claiming he only wanted to see how much she actually cares about him, and that comment sends Miku into a fit of frustration as she chases after him. The two eventually reach school, and to their delight, they discover they've been placed in the very same classroom. Seeing that, they're already coming up with brand new strategies to make the other blush and finally claim victory in the love game once and for all. Back in the past, Miku's mom had to head to work, so she left Miku at the house of a close friend, who just so happens to be Yukiya's mother. It became the first time Miku met Yukiya, he could immediately tell how shy she was. Instead of awkwardly trying to cheer her up, he simply asks if she'd like to play video games with him. But then, he he found her crying, and not knowing what to do but wanting to comfort her, Yukiya headed to the kitchen and made her a rolled egg. The simple homemade meal instantly stopped her tears, and that small act of kindness leaves a lasting impression on her. Back in the present, Yukiya and Miku officially begin high school in the same classroom. Everyone is already chatting away and making new friends before class even starts, except for Yukiya. It turns out the rest of the class has been talking through social media long before the entrance ceremony, leaving him as the only one completely out of the loop. Just then, Miku walks over and immediately calls him out for acting like such a loner. She says she doesn't want them calling each other by their first names anymore because she's worried people will start spreading rumors about them, so she begins calling him by his last name, which instantly gets on his nerves. However, she says that she's only messing with him, and that it feels special that she's the only one who gets to call him by his first name. And Yukiya quickly realizes it's just another one of her love game attacks. Refusing to lose, he immediately fires back with some teasing of his own, successfully making Miku blush as well. Before long, the two are bickering loud enough to catch the attention of Miku's new classmates, Akane and Marika. After introducing Yukiya as her childhood friend, Miku watches as the two girls excitedly greet him. Akane and Marika instantly recognize that he's the quiet, loner type, but they also point out that he looks quite hot, which only makes Yukiya even more nervous. Since Miku is basically the only girl he's talked to for years, he realizes he'll have to lock in if he wants to escape loner status. Almost like flipping a switch, Yukiya suddenly transforms into a confident, outgoing version of himself and manages to carry on a surprisingly smooth conversation with the two girls. During the conversation, Akane even asks him to call her by her first name, but he hesitates because it just feels strange. Watching the exchange, Miku realizes she's never once seen Yukiya smiling and chatting so naturally with another girl before, and it makes her jealous. Once Akane and Marika finally leave, Yukiya notices a dark cloud practically hanging over Miku's head, and it doesn't take him long to figure out that she's jealous. The moment he points it out, Miku immediately denies everything. Yukiya simply reaches over and lightly taps her shoulder, causing her to jump and let out a loud scream that sends him into a full laughing fit, which gets everyone's attention. That's when he pieces everything together, that Miku panicked because Akane had almost started calling him by his first name, something Miku has always secretly considered exclusive to herself. As she quietly reflects on those feelings, Yukiya gently reassures her that she has nothing to worry about before giving her a little space. Watching him act with the same kindness he's always shown her makes Miku realize he hasn't changed at all. When she walks back over to him a moment later, she can't help noticing how handsome he looks, and before she knows it, she's blushing heavily. A few days later, Miku finds Yukiya eating lunch by himself in the cafeteria and immediately starts teasing him for still being a loner. Yukiya refuses to let that slide and shoots back by accusing her of being jealous instead. Right as Miku sits down to join him, a group of boys suddenly joins them, including one named Hayato, who casually wraps Yukiya in a hug like they've been best friends forever. Since Yukiya doesn't really know how to match that kind of energy, Hayato quickly shifts his attention over to chatting with Miku instead, which bothers him. That night, Yukiya prepares his own lunch while telling his sister, Wakana, that he's only doing it to save money. In reality, his real goal is to give it to Miko so she will eat with him again, so they can keep having lunch together. The following day, Yukiya proudly brings his homemade lunch to school, only to discover that Miku has brought one of her own as well. He's genuinely surprised because he's never seen her cook anything before. Naturally, Miku starts teasing him about his reaction, but Yukiya immediately recognizes it as another attack in the love game, and fires back with teasing of his own until both of them are left blushing once again. Then Miku notices something inside Yukiya's lunchbox. Since he almost never brings food from home, she figures whatever's inside has to be important. Curious, she opens it and discovers a slightly burnt rolled egg, the very same dish Yukiya made for her when they were children. As she takes a bite, she quietly tells him it reminds her of those days, making Yukiya realize that the pain of losing her grandmother is still something she carries deep inside. The next day, Yukiya overhears Miku's friends inviting her to hang out at a cafe over the weekend. To everyone's surprise, she turns them down, pretending she already has something much more important planned. That important plan turns out to be spending the weekend playing online games with Yukiya. Since the two of them have loved gaming ever since they were kids, Yukiya is more than happy with that arrangement. While they're playing together, Miku suddenly starts talking in an adorable high-pitched voice that sounds just like a VTuber, and it completely destroys Yukiya's composure. A little later, she takes a sip of her drink, making Yukiya curious enough to search it online. To his surprise, he discovers she's still drinking juice meant for little kids, and somehow, he finds it ridiculously adorable. Naturally, he teases her about it. Noticing the blush spreading across her face, Yukiya immediately tells her to turn on her webcam, expecting to catch her looking all flustered. But the moment her camera comes on, he's completely stunned by how unbelievably cute she looks. Now Yukiya is the one barely holding back a blush, while Miku ends up blushing even harder herself. As they continue talking, Yukiya notices the same old plushie and blanket Miku has kept ever since she was little. The sight makes him smile, realizing that deep down, despite everything that's changed over the years, Miku is still the exact same girl she's always been. Back when they were graduating, Yukiya honestly doesn't feel like graduation is that big of a deal. He doesn't care and doesn't want to put in any effort, but he notices notices it's a completely different story for Miku. He starts to feel insecure about being lonely because Miku has a ton of friends lining up to sign her yearbook. While Miku and her friends are taking pictures, Yukiya decides just quietly to leave. But right as he's walking down that famous road, he hears someone calling his name from behind. And to his surprise, it's Miku, who actually chased him all the way from school. She explains she wanted to walk home with him one last time before high school starts, and that moment genuinely gets to him. Turns out she also chased him down just to sign his yearbook. But when Yukiya reads what she wrote, he's furious to find out she's just mocking him for being a loner. Right as he's about to argue back, it hits him how special he actually is to her, and that pushes him to want to do better in school. Now they're running down that same famous road again, except this time Yukiya is the one ahead of her. Later that night, Yukiya and Miku are on one of their usual night calls. Miku asks him for recommendations like she's getting ready for some kind of date, and then out of nowhere she hangs up on him, which has never happened before. Yukiya walks out of his room and can't stop wondering what she's up to. He knows she's got plenty of friends both online and in real life, but her hanging up on him messes with his head. Later, he's reading one of his romance mangas and sees how smooth the main character is with girls. Yukiya wishes he could be that guy and get closer to Miku, and it hits him that she won't just wait around forever if he doesn't actually do something. The next day, Yukiya's hanging out at Masaru's cafe and ends up telling Hinako about his feelings for Miku. She's happy for him and promises to help however she can. He asks her what makes a girl happy, and according to Hinako, it's money. She explains how money can buy girls all kinds of exclusive, expensive stuff that makes them smile, but Yukiya's nowhere near that level yet. Hinako clarifies that gifts don't need to be expensive. What actually matters is the thought and effort behind it. Right then, Yukiya finally understands what it takes to make a girl blush, and he's fully ready for the challenge. That night, Miku's cooking dinner for her mom when she gets a call saying her mom's coming home late. Right when she starts feeling down, another call comes in, and it's Yukiya. The second she picks up, he starts mocking her, which annoys her instantly. She braces herself for him to keep rambling all night, but instead he surprises her by bringing up taking her somewhere over the weekend, then hangs up right away, which makes her blush. Yukiya's blushing too, but stays composed since he's already got his Riz locked and loaded for their date. Miku, on the other hand, knows she's walking straight into a trap, so she preps herself and glams up like she's about to become Miss Universe, ready to catch him red-handed. A few days later, Miku's at the train station looking for Yukiya and spots him standing there in his coolest outfit waiting for her. She's surprised and starts wondering what he's actually planning. To her shock, he doesn't even like the outfit she spent days picking out for herself. Instead, he drags her off to a fancy shop because he's got a surprise waiting. While he waits for her, Yuki is confident that between the manga tips and Hinako's advice, he's about to conquer Miku and finally make her admit defeat. Meanwhile, Miku's trying on the clothes he picked out, surprised to realize he's actually putting an effort for her. She steps outside to show off her new dress, and it completely makes him blush. But before they can argue about it, he cuts her off and rushes them off to the next spot. Yukiya then takes Miku to a fancy restaurant serving food that looks straight out of another planet. She's shocked he'd bring her somewhere so out of their league and feels embarrassed about it, convinced he's lost his mind. But Yukiya stays fully confident, acting like some prince from a whole other kingdom, which actually makes her smile. Next, he takes her to an amusement park, and she ends up more excited there than at any of the fancy places, and the two enjoy the rides together just like a real couple. Later that night, they're sightseeing by the lake, and Miku starts getting more nervous than before. Yukiya is still acting a little sketchy, trying hard to impress her, but nothing's landing, so he pulls out his ultimate weapon. He tells her to close her eyes, which sends her into a mini panic. The second she closes them, she braces herself, thinking she's about to get kissed, but instead he just places a tiara on her head, showing he wants her to be his princess for the day. Miku thinks it's cringy, but he doesn't care because his real goal is making sure she never forgets this date, since deep down he doesn't want her experiencing any of these first with anyone else. Right after, Yukiya suddenly stumbles and passes out right on her shoulder. He wakes up later to find himself asleep on her lap, and she immediately confronts him about it. She reveals she's noticed his room light staying on past midnight for days straight, assuming he's just been gaming too much. The truth is, he's actually been researching how to impress a girl this whole time. Miku doesn't want him getting sick over it and starts acting like his mother, which annoys him. Suddenly, he stands up and pulls her into a tight hug, telling her she's the reason he's been trying to become a better version of himself, and he wants her to see the results. But Miku tells him she doesn't want him pushing himself like that again, since it's not really him, and instead she just pats his back and comforts him while making Yukiya realize just how far he still has to go to catch up to her. Yukiya then heads off to grab a drink, leaving Miku alone for a moment. What he doesn't realize is that she's actually panicking internally over everything he just said, completely unable to stop thinking about it. Right then, his bag falls over, spilling out all the manga he's been secretly reading. Miku picks them up and realizes he's been trying his absolute hardest to win their game, though she can't quite figure out why. Then she spots the notes he's written inside the manga, and it hits her. He's been planning this whole time to kiss her. The next day, Miku's praying for her grandma and ends up talking to her about the date with Yukiya. She can't stop replaying it in her head ever since she found out he was actually about to kiss her before he passed out. Miku's confused about what he's really trying to do with the love game, since she always assumed he didn't have feelings for her, and now she's not so sure. The more she thinks about it, the more she can't shake off that almost kiss, knowing full well she wouldn't have been able to stop it if it happened. Meanwhile, Yukiya walks out of the restroom and notices Miku hasn't played the love game with him all day. He starts thinking the whole date might have been a huge mistake, and then he remembers the kiss scene in the manga, realizing that might have been way too far for their game. His mind drifts to how small and cute she felt when he hugged her, and he starts fidgeting with his hands like a total creep. That's when Miku shows up and confronts him, catching him off guard. She wants to ask him something, but chickens out since it's actually about the kiss scene from the manga. Instead, she asks him about the boundaries and rules of the love game, and finds out Yukiya doesn't want any boundaries at all, meaning they're free to do anything a real couple would do. He adds that he'd only ever do that stuff with her and nobody else, which makes her feel special. Miku blushes and starts scheming about what she could do to make him admit defeat, like sitting on his lap while he's asleep and other sneaky moves like that. Turns out, Yukiya's thinking the same kind of thing to win, and she calls him out on it. He gets embarrassed and teases her back instead. Then Miku grabs his hand since he did say there were no boundaries, so he matches her by grabbing her other hand, leaving them holding both hands. Yukiya starts clenching up like he's nervous about it, and Miku notices, using it as ammo to tease him more. Suddenly they hear footsteps coming down the stairs, catching Yukiya, completely off guard and sending him into panic mode. He ends up slamming her against the wall like he's about to kiss her, then immediately gets embarrassed and bails. The next morning, Yukiya has a dream where he and Miku are holding hands. In the dream, he asks her to let him touch her more like they're an actual couple, but it all fades away the moment he realizes it could just be another one of Miku's traps to win the game. That realization makes him more cautious, and it frustrates him knowing she's got the upper hand now. At school, Miku looks like the sad Keanu Reeves meme, and her friend Natsuki picks up on it right away. She asks what's wrong, and Miku admits she hasn't talked to Yukiya much that day. Being the good friend she is, Natsuki decides to help by calling him up. She can't really think of a solid reason to get him to talk to Miku, so she just tells him Miku misses him, which embarrasses Miku instantly. Eventually, all three end up studying together at the library. The whole time it's dead silent on the outside, but internally each of them is screaming. Natsuki can't take the tension anymore and leaves the two of them alone. Yukiya and Miku both know the library is prime territory for teasing each other and scoring a win, so they're both ready to do whatever it takes to secure the chicken dinner. An hour goes by, and neither of them has made a move, which starts making them both nervous. Yukiya realizes he's never actually been in total silence with her like this before, making him wonder if she's actually nervous about the no boundaries rule. Then his eraser drops, and when he bends down to grab it off the floor, it startles her. In that moment, he realizes just how nervous she really is, and he doesn't want her feeling like that, so he reassures her that he won't do anything weird, which puts her at ease. By the end, the two are back to bonding like normal, and the love game rolls on. The next day, Yukiya walks into school and spots Miku already there. She asks him to come with her somewhere after school, and he immediately clocks it as a trap. After school dates are pretty standard for students, and Yukiya's more than ready since he's been thinking about this nonstop. Later, the two head to the mall, and Miku takes him to a coffee shop, which makes him nervous. He's shocked to find out it's a parody version of Starbucks, since he's a total introvert who knows nothing about coffee. Luckily, thanks to Masaru, he's been getting a crash course on coffee, so he feels ready to face the Starbucks test. Yukiya's trying to flex his coffee knowledge in front of Miku, but the second he's face to face with the barista, he freezes up like Black Panther and gets nervous. He's also shocked at how expensive everything is, worried he can't afford it after already blowing his budget on their Sunday date. Luckily, Miku's an amazing friend who knows him well enough to just give him a recommendation, and he picks it without hesitation. The two sit down at a table, and Yukiya feels the pressure finally melt away. He notices Miku bought a bunch of stuff, and she starts opening up about her life, which makes him genuinely happy. Once she's full, she hands him her leftovers, including a sandwich he's clearly been eyeing, which she bought as a way to repay his kindness from the Sunday date. While they're chatting, Yukiya notices the barista wrote something on Miku's cup and is surprised to realize the guy was actually hitting on her, which makes her laugh it off. Then Miku notices the barista also wrote something on Yukiya's cup, calling them a lovely couple, which makes them both blush. Right after, Miku starts writing a little note trying to make Yukiya blush, listing out things she likes about him, and it genuinely moves him. Not wanting to lose, Yukiya draws a silly, childish doodle of her, which ends up moving her just as much. By the end, the two are blushing over each other's moves all over again. Yukiya then heads to the bathroom, leaving Miku by herself for a moment. What neither of them realizes is that they're both quietly staring at the notes and drawings like they're treasured diamond rings. In secret, they each tuck their little keepsake away in a special spot, growing even closer without saying a word. A few days later, the two head to Masaru's cafe after school, and Yukiya orders a strawberry parfait. Then Yukiya notices Hinako gives him 2 spoons, which means he has to share it with Miku. Yukiya could not thank Hinako and Masaru enough because this is the perfect chance to win the love game. So he asks Miku to grab a bite, which flusters her completely. But instead of using the 2 spoons like normal people, Miku grabs her own spoon just to make him blush. Yukiya knows it is a trap, but if he plays his cards right, he wins anyway. So without wasting a second, Miku feeds Yukiya a spoonful of parfait, and it hits her right after that. This basically counts as an indirect kiss. Yukiya cranks up the pressure by trying to feed her a spoon back, and it drags up memories from their past. Miku knows if she stops now, she loses the whole love game because she is blushing so hard. But she remembers her actual goal, making Yukiya see her as a girl, so she keeps fighting. Yukiya notices she is stressed out, so he just eats the parfait himself, leaving her frustrated. The next morning, Miku eats breakfast alone, which reminds her of her grandma. She realizes her mom already left for work and decides to test one of her mom's products on Yukiya just to mess with him, laughing to herself like Bane. Meanwhile, Yukiya is still failing at making his signature rolled egg over and over. Right as he sits down to eat, the doorbell rings. He opens it and freezes because Miku is standing there way earlier than usual. Turns out she hurt her hand and cannot tie her own hair, so she needs Yukiya to do it for her. He lets her in without thinking, then instantly realizes this is a setup. He starts panicking internally because he is not in top form yet, but Miku is already waiting, which only makes him more nervous. He combs her hair and catches how good it smells. He calls her out on it, and she admits she put on something special just for him. His jaw drops and he tries to lock in immediately, but her teasing is too strong and she has him cornered. So he pulls out his emergency move, going full Prince mode and patting her head as he used to when they were kids. That memory catches her completely off guard. Then he starts sniffing her hair, telling her how amazing it smells, sending her into full panic mode. But she fires back by reminding him he used to let her touch his ears back in the day, and that gets both of them blushing. Yukiya knows he has to touch her ears too before admitting defeat, but right before he can, Wakana walks in and assumes they are about to kiss. They both jump apart, then realize they are late for school, so Miku rushes home. On her walk back, she cannot stop thinking about how that head pat felt exactly like her grandma used to do. Later, Yukiya and Miku walk home together, and out of nowhere, he asks about her middle school uniform. He genuinely thinks she looked better in it and wants to see it again. Miku immediately assumes the worst, disgusted at the idea that Yukiya might be a pervert. He defends himself, saying he is just curious, but that thought sticks with her the entire walk home. Once home, she considers pulling out the old uniform just to mess with pervert Yukiya, but then realizes doing that would make her the pervert for teasing him that hard. That night, Wakana comes home past curfew, dressed like she just came from a date. She tells Yukiya and their mom she was just at a friend's place, which does not sit right with him. He starts investigating her secret night out, which only makes her angrier since she already got scolded by their mom. Yukiya tries to apologize, but Wakana is furious and kicks him out of her room. The fight leaves him feeling awful. Right then, Miku calls asking him to walk with her to the convenience store. On the way, they talk about what happened with Wakana. Miku tells him he should have been more supportive instead of investigating her like she is some criminal mastermind. That comment reminds Yukiya of the time Miku came home past curfew and he asked where she had been, worried out of his mind, only to learn she was just out having fun without him. Even now, he still worries about her breaking curfew, though Miku insists she can take care of herself. Suddenly, a group of guys walks by, all staring at her, and Yukiya steps in front to block their view, silently proving she still needs him around. Once they reach the store, Miku sees the perfect chance to tease him again, but he is clearly not in the mood, showing a colder side that actually worries her. So instead, she switches to comfort mode, telling him what he really should be doing for Wakana, basically repeating the exact things he used to do for her when they were kids. Saying it out loud makes Miku a little shy herself, but her point stands. She just wants him to be more supportive. Walking home, Yukiya admits he feels insecure, worried that Wakana might have some other guy looking out for her now instead of him. Miku tells him that is just how life works, and he needs to accept it, but she also reminds him he really is a great brother to Wakana, and all he needs to do is keep supporting her. As Miku walks ahead, Yukiya stops, hit by the fear that she might drift away from him too someday. He tries to ask her about it, but she does not hear him, so they just head home. Once inside, Yukiya goes straight to Wakana's room with popsicles in hand and apologizes for being overprotective. She understands exactly what he means, proving Miku's advice was right all along. The two finally make up, and Yukiya hands back her mangas, except every single one is covered in his sticky notes, which makes her even angrier than before. Back in the past, Miku used to sleep over at Yukiya's house all the time when they were little. One night, she starts crying after thinking about her grandma who recently passed away. Her crying wakes Yukiya up and he notices right away. He knows he probably should not bother her, but he covers her with his blanket anyway, and it earns him a small smile. Back in the present, Yukiya and Miku are in PE class. Yukiya is struggling to keep up with his loud extrovert classmates, but somehow Miku always has his back. She surprises him by rubbing cold water on his body, making him blush instantly. Walking back to class, he notices she is drenched in sweat and worries she might get sick. He grabs her towel to dry her off, but stops himself halfway. Instead, he plays it cool and tells her to wipe herself down because she smells. Hearing that, Miku realizes he has changed since the library incident, and it worries her. Afterward, Miku changes into her uniform, unable to stop thinking about what he said. She notices the change in him, but has no idea why. Then it hits her like a brick. Yukiya probably still does not see her as a girl yet, and that thought frustrates her completely. Later, Miku has lunch with Wakana at the famous road, and she finally tells her about her feelings for Yukiya. Wakana admits she does not know for sure if Yukiya feels the same, but she is confident he does. Miku feels relieved hearing that, and Wakana decides to show her something. She pulls up a video of a game character with a massive chest, exactly Yukiya's type. Seeing that, Miku assumes her own flat chest must be the reason he is holding back, deciding right then that all guys are disgusting. She cannot fight her own genetics, but Wakana claims she knows the secret weapon, manga. Miku says she does not trust manga at all, which leaves Wakana speechless, considering her entire life philosophy is built on manga. Wakana starts throwing out proof of how manga has brought countless couples together, and Miku decides she might as well give it a shot. That night, Miku sits in her room reading manga on her phone, and she realizes the story mirrors her own life with Yukiya, which gets her excited. She scrolls to the last page and spots the one thing she she has not tried yet. A girl sleeping over at a guy's place while his parents are away so they can do whatever they want. Immediately, Miku fantasizes about wrapping herself in Yukiya's blanket and teasing each other back and forth. Then Yukiya finally cracks and admits defeat, and things get spicy before Miku snaps out of her daydream. She knows sleeping over could be risky, but decides it is worth it. Then she imagines asking him directly, and every version in her head ends with him mocking her, which makes her furious. In the end, she gives up on the plan and just wishes they could hang out like old times since it has been so long. Since the day they met, Miku and Yukiya became instant best friends. Every day they play games and laugh together while Miku's mom is off working. They share tons of firsts together that she can never forget, but all of that slows down once her mom starts coming home every night. They stay friends and keep playing together regardless. But once Miku starts playing the love game more aggressively, distance grows between them because she has already caught real feelings. Then Miku wakes up from her nap to her phone ringing. It is Wakana telling her the house is empty for the night and inviting her to stay over. Miku grabs her stuff immediately, ready to make Yukiya fall for her. Walking inside, she notices nothing has changed since the last time she visited. She spots the old sofa they used to hang out on and locks in immediately, deciding that is exactly where she will sit on Yukiya's lap and claim her victory. Yukiya gets home with groceries and is greeted by Miku wearing an apron. She starts acting cute and a little unhinged, pretending to scratch an itch on her leg, and Yukiya cannot hold back a blush because he finds it adorable. Eventually, she walks off embarrassed at her own weirdness. She heads to cook dinner while Yukiya just stands there, stunned at how cute she looks. She calls him out on staring, but he knows it is a trap, so he tries to rizz her up instead. He attempts a scene straight out of the manga, but ends up too awkward to pull it off. Miku sees exactly what he is trying to do, so she goes in for a hug, and Yukiya immediately denies her and runs off to wash his hands like he is too embarrassed to handle it, confirming to Miku that her moves are working. They end up cooking together like an actual couple, and Wakana clocks exactly what is going on. Dinner gets served, but Miku decides to head home so she does not intrude. Yukiya feels bad about the idea of her eating dinner alone, so he invites her to stay and eat with them, which she happily accepts. That night, the three eat together just like old times, and Miku keeps teasing Yukiya throughout dinner, making sure he knows exactly who is winning. Eventually, Miku has to head home, and she checks her phone to find her mom has been calling nonstop. Turns out her mom came home early to grab something, left again, and noticed Miku had left the door unlocked, sending her into a panic. Miku rushes home without any real win to show for the night, but right before she leaves, Yukiya thanks her for stepping up like an adult for both him and Wakana, making her blush. When she gets to her door though, she realizes her mom locked it, and her spare key is stuck inside, meaning she cannot get in at all. Hearing that, Yukiya knows he has to help her out, so he invites her to stay over at his place, just like the old days. Miku goes to take a bath first before heading to bed, still unable to believe she is sleeping over at Yukiya's place again. She feels like this is her biggest shot at winning since World War II, but the nerves are still eating at her. She has already planned everything she needs to do that night, yet the anxiety creeps in, making her think she might lose anyway. After her bath, she spots the clothes Wakana lent her, but something else catches her eye instead: Yukiya's clothes. Meanwhile, Yukiya is grinding away in one of her video games when he hears the bathroom door open. He looks up and freezes, realizing Miku is wearing his clothes. He cannot believe it and calls her out immediately. Classic Miku, she teases him for blushing over something so simple, which only makes him more furious. He turns back to the game, but she decides to bother him anyway, leaning in close just to get a reaction, which frustrates him even more. Up close though, he notices how cute she actually looks in his clothes, and it catches him completely off guard. He quickly calls out to Wakana, pretending he is not affected by Miku at all, which is exactly the reaction she was hoping for. Deep down, Yukiya knows this move could be the end of him, since he has no counter for it. Later, Yukiya finishes his own bath and finds Miku playing video games with Wakana. He deliberately sits as far from her as possible, but she moves right next to him anyway. Noticing he is not making any kind of move, she taps his shoulder, which startles him instantly. The moment turns awkward, so Miku heads to the bathroom, leaving Yukiya embarrassed and alone with his thoughts. That awkwardness drags up an old memory. Back then, Yukiya used to study with Miku after school all the time, but he was always too lame to make a move on her, leaving him with a regret that still stings. That night, Wakana gets sleepy after eating and gaming with the two of them, and she heads to bed early. Once she is gone, Yukiya sets up the futon for Miku. Just as he turns to leave, she stops him, saying she wants to talk for a bit. Yukiya reads it as a sign that she has feelings for him, and is finally ready to admit defeat in the love game. So he stays, turns off the light, and shuts the door behind him. Then he suddenly pushes her onto the bed, telling her the love game is not over yet, which sends her into a full panic. The house goes silent, but both their heads are racing. They sit there, blushing, neither one sure what to do next. Yukiya pushes further, pulling her into an embrace and touching her cheek, but she does not like it at all. Miku tells him that he crossed the line for the love game, and he agrees, apologizing for going too far. But then something hits him. Miku asks if he is bored of the game, and it sends him spiraling into thought. From the very beginning, Yukiya only played the love game to kill time, but as they got older, he started using it to actually grow, pushing himself just to make her heart race. Miku has been thinking the same thing. She feels the game is what changed her for the better, and she is grateful for it. She only started it to get his attention at first, but now she realizes it became something much bigger than that. Both of them clearly have feelings for each other, but ending the game means losing the thing connecting them, so they choose to keep playing, wanting to keep growing for each other. Before falling asleep, Yukiya teases her one more time by cuddling up beside her, together, just to check if the game is still on. The next morning, Yukiya wakes up right as Wakana starts stirring, and he quickly shakes Miku awake so his sister does not catch them sleeping like an actual couple. He heads outside and greets Wakana as if nothing happened, and she does not suspect a thing. Left alone in the room, Miku cannot believe last night actually happened, growing nervous now that she knows exactly how far Yukiya is willing to go. She eventually leaves the room to find him making breakfast. She figures it is the perfect moment to tease him, but the second he looks at her, she gets flustered instead. Truthfully, both of them are still embarrassed about the night before, and Wakana can tell immediately, having read hundreds of manga, which just makes her disgusted with her own brother. Miku is surprised he can actually cook miso soup and tries to tease him about it, but he is clearly not in the mood, leaving her just staring at her bowl like Gollum eyeing the ring. A few days later, Yukiya gets ready for school and puts on his summer uniform. Stepping outside, he finds Miku waiting in her own summer uniform, and his heart skips a beat at how stunning she looks. He fires back by pinning her against the wall to tease her, then pulls her into a hug, trying to prove who the alpha really is. None of it phases her anymore though, and the two end up hugging each other like an actual couple. Suddenly, Wakana shows up and reminds them they have school. Catching them completely off guard, the two immediately take off running together. But this time, they have both grown up, fully aware the risk is just as high as the reward, setting up what is shaping up to be an unforgettable summer. Later that night, Miku is chilling in her room when she suddenly remembers she left her makeup kit at Yukiya's house. She knows if she does not grab it, his parents will tease her for using it as an excuse to get closer to him. So she calls him right away, and the second he picks up, she feels relieved hearing that her makeup kit is already sitting safely in his hands. Being the good friend he is, Yukiya asks if she just wants to leave it at his place permanently, figuring she comes over often enough anyway, basically telling her she is welcome there any day. Hearing that makes her happy, and she agrees without letting any of her real feelings show. The next morning, Miku heads to Yukiya's house so they can walk to school together. It is raining, which has her mood down at first, but Wakana and his mom greet her with such warmth that she cannot help but smile. She learns Yukiya is still asleep, and his mom actually gives her permission to go wake him up herself. Miku has fantasized about surprising him mid-sleep since they were kids, and the excitement kicks in immediately. She has never been inside his room before, so nerves creep in as she steps in. The room smells so much like him that it instantly reminds her of cuddling together. She blushes seeing how peaceful he looks asleep, cute enough that she wants to just pinch his cheeks. She sits down next to him, and he suddenly jolts awake, stunned to find her sitting there so early. The two argue since he is caught completely off guard and still in his underwear no less, which just makes his mom smile from the doorway. Afterward, they walk to school together in the rain, and Miku offers to share her umbrella. He cannot say no without basically admitting defeat, so he agrees. That forces him to hold her close like he's playing Protect the American President, which he does on purpose just to fluster her. Feeling her warmth and soft skin ends up making him the nervous one instead. Right as the tension peaks, they hear someone yelling their names from a distance. Turns out Natsuki is walking to school too. Miku leaves Yukiya's side to share Natsuki's umbrella instead, but Natsuki quickly realizes Miku would clearly rather be under Yukiya's umbrella and starts spilling the tea before getting shushed immediately. Later, the school holds an assembly where the student president gives a speech about summer. Yukiya is already daydreaming about summer break with Miku, but reminds himself he wants to become a better version of himself for her before it even starts. He glances over at her sitting far back in line, and their eyes lock. She shoots him a wink and a smile, and he considers returning it, but decides against it. That is just not him. Suddenly, the student president calls out a teacher who dozed off during the assembly, telling him to wake up since he is supposed to be a role model, which startles Miku. Akane mentions she actually went to school with the student president, whose name is Kazan, revealing Kazan used to be a fierce and popular student back in middle school, once even breaking a guy's nose badly enough to land him in the hospital for misbehaving. Miku cannot believe someone so cute could have that kind of history, refusing to accept it at first. After school, Yukiya tries to head home, but Miku stops him, calling him out for staring at her during the assembly. He does not budge, instead leading her up to the rooftop where nobody else is around. There, he admits he was not staring first. She was already staring at him, which makes her blush hard. As things start heating up, he moves in to corner her and tease her further, but right before he lands his finishing move, they realize someone is standing right next to them. It is Kazan, calling them out on their behavior. She reveals she has been watching the two of them since the very first day of school, noticing how close they always are, like a couple that loves each other to the death. Miku and Yukiya scramble to defend themselves, insisting they are just childhood friends, but Kazane does not buy it, ordering them to report to the student council room for a lecture. Once she leaves, the two just breathe a sigh of relief. That girl is terrifying. They cannot believe they are about to get lectured over their love game, something only their family and close friends actually know about, leaving them completely stumped on how Kazane figured it out. Meanwhile, Kazane stands alone watching the baseball team practice, sighing to herself like she is thinking about someone from her past, someone she misses. The next day, Yukiya and Miku show up, ready to face the wrath of Demon Kazan. The second they arrive, she lays into them, calling their behavior completely inappropriate. She reveals she has been watching them for months, insisting the love game has no place at school, that childhood friends should grow into family, not some romantic couple. But right after saying that, her whole mood dips, almost like she has her own childhood friend she is thinking about. Just then, a guy walks in offering to help Kazane with her workload. He refuses to let her handle it all alone, and though she snaps at him in annoyance, he picks something out of her hair, making her blush instantly. In that moment, Yukiya and Miku realize Kazane Kazane clearly has feelings for this guy, revealing she is actually a total softie underneath. Not liking being touched, she punches him in the gut, but he takes it like a champ before heading out, having helped her anyway. The tables turn completely once they learn this guy is actually Kazane's own childhood friend, Kakeru. Kazane ends up spilling her backstory, explaining how close she and Kakeru used to be until his baseball obsession pulled them apart. She admits she became quick to throw punches after that, worried it might be the reason he still does not see her as a girl. Determined to make his heart skip a beat, she realizes Yukiya and Miku are clearly experts at exactly that, so she asks them to teach her the ways of the love game. Without hesitation, the two demonstrate how they tease each other, and Kazane immediately cringes. Unable to picture herself acting that cute, Yukiya steps in and tells her the real secret is smiling, claiming it is powerful enough to put a guy in a coma if he truly loves her. Kazane takes the advice seriously, thanking them and dismissing them right after. Walking back to class, Miku calls Yukiya out for playing the big shot with his advice, teasing him about the smiling tip until it annoys him. But something about Kazane keeps nagging at him. He cannot shake the feeling that despite being a genuinely better person than him in some ways, she still lacks the skill and confidence to be with the person she actually loves, leaving him quietly confused about where he stands with Miku himself. A few days later, Miku goes to have lunch with Kazane at the student council room. Kazane has a problem with Kakeru, and she needs Miku's help badly. Kazane reveals she tried the same move Miku and Yukiya did last time they met, but when she did it with Kakeru, she accidentally hit him too hard because she couldn't keep up the cute act. Miku totally gets it, since Yukiya used to do the same thing to her. Kazane then says she should just give up on Kakeru, but Miku isn't having that. Miku says the scariest girl in school shouldn't give up over a guy, hyping her back up. Kazane gets excited and asks Miku to pretend to be Kakeru for a second. Miku knows exactly what to do and pulls off Yukiya's famous slam him against the wall move on her. Kazane can't believe how cool it looks and blushes so hard she starts squeezing her own head like a watermelon. Right then, Miku hears her grandma's voice calling from somewhere far away, and her whole life flashes before her eyes like she just caught a glimpse of heaven. After that, the two girls sit down to talk about the real purpose of the love game. Miku admits she loves making Yukiya nervous and blushing because honestly it turns her on. Kazane can't believe how much of a pervert she is, but the confession just makes them closer friends. After school, Kazane is doing student council work alone when Kakeru drops by to leave his bag. She realizes this is the perfect chance to tease him the way Miku taught her, which makes her nervous. Kakeru suddenly shows up acting like her husband, making her even more nervous. He notices she's acting weird and calls her out on it. Kazane realizes she got too close and wants to punch him so bad, but something stops her. Then Kakeru pulls out athletic tape because he noticed her fist is hurt from punching his stomach earlier. She's stunned by how sweet and cute he's being, and her eyes well up like she's happy and falling for him. Meanwhile, Yukiya and Miku are chilling at Masaru's cafe, enjoying omoritse together. Miku is happy her love game experience is actually helping someone else out. She goes right back to teasing Yukiya, telling him to draw a heart on their amours. She gets excited watching him get all artsy like Picasso, but it backfires when she realizes he wrote something mocking her instead, leaving her annoyed. Later that night, Miku writes in her diary about how much closer she's gotten with Yukiya. She knows she needs to be cuter to win him over, but then it hits her that maybe she's just not special enough for him, and it brings her down. The next day, Miku tries to share her excitement with Yukiya, but he stays cold like he doesn't want to be bothered. Frustrated, she hands him a chocolate bar and walks off. Yukiya doesn't actually want to be left alone, but for Miku's sake, he doesn't want anyone finding out she's best friends with a loner like him. Then, Miku's group shows up, and they all sit together for the group assignment. Yukiya notices her group is full of extroverts, especially Akane. The two lock eyes and he gets shy. Akane remembers Yukiya mentioning he's a fan of a certain famous anime, and it turns out the lipstick she's wearing is merch from that same anime. She asks if he recognizes it, and he immediately goes off explaining everything he knows about it. Akane is shocked at how cultured this loner actually is, and then something happens that completely stuns Miku. Akane asks Yukiya if the lipstick looks cute on her, and he says yes it does, which makes Miku's heart stop from pure jealousy. Miku tries to stay calm, but Akane keeps going, asking for his social media next. Miku snaps and starts speaking up for Yukiya, but everyone just thinks she's being overprotective. Akane teases him for doing the group assignment all by himself, and that's the last straw for Miku. She gets upset and storms out of class worrying Yukiya. Downstairs, Miku is bummed that her grandma's good luck charm isn't working for her today. Suddenly, Kazane shows up needing her help urgently. Kazane reveals she's been researching how to win Kakeru back, and the plan is to play a game of Pakuto, where a couple eats one stick from opposite ends until they meet in the middle, putting them in perfect kissing position, just like those dogs from that one Disney movie. Miku thinks it's a great idea, just not for her since she's not ready to take things that far with Yukiya. Right then, the bell rings, and Kazane wants Miku to write up a report on how the Pakuto game goes, meaning Miku has to try it herself. Miku panics and tries to talk her way out of it, but Kazane is already busy and leaves her hanging. Miku knows playing Pokito with Yukiya would be way too far, and thinking about her actual goal with him only makes her overthink everything more. The next day, Yukiya notices Miku acting oddly normal, nothing like the jealous, weird version of her from before. Right as he's about to head home, she stops him because she wants to walk home together. She asks him out on an after-school date, which instantly tells Yukiya she's on edge from jealousy, meaning he's got the upper hand fan now. Then he mentions he made a social media account because Akane asked him to, and that completely ruins her mood. Miku always wanted Yukiya to get social media, but finding out it's because of Akane and not her makes her furious. So she cancels the date and tells him to just meet her at noon instead. Yukiya heads home confused, overthinking why she's mad at him, and to figure it out, he goes to the park where she wanted to meet. When he gets there, he finds Miku sitting alone, still in her wrinkled school uniform. He instantly knows something's off just from the state of her uniform. He asks if he did something wrong, but it wasn't actually him that made her jealous. Miku is done playing games with Yukiya and decides to go all in. She pulls out a box of Poketo and explains the rules to him. Yukiya knows forfeiting means losing the love game, so he accepts the challenge. The two start eating the same stick of Poketo, their faces getting closer than ever. Yukiya notices Miku is playing like she's got nothing to lose, and it pushes him to lean in closer too. Their lips are just an inch away from touching when someone walks by, snapping the Poketo and making something amazing happen instead. Their lips actually touch, though it doesn't technically count as a kiss. Yukiya gets nervous and shy about it, but when he finally looks over to see Miku's reaction, he's stunned. She's already got another stick of Poketo in her mouth, ready to challenge him to round 2. Yukiya is still stunned after learning Miku isn't backing out, like she actually wants to kiss him. He quickly tries to figure out what she's up to and realizes she's been acting weird all day, which just confuses him more. He can't back out now because that'd make him look like a total chicken. So the two start another round of Poketo, but this time they put Do Not Disturb on. They keep playing until noon, getting closer with every round. Eventually their lips touch again, but neither of them cares since it doesn't technically count as a kiss. Yukiya is stunned by how freaky Miku is acting, but he can't stop because she's just too cute, making him blush like crazy. Miku puts in another stick and Yukiya immediately bites down on it. This time they're playing with their hearts and real feelings on the line. Both of them look nervous as they get closer than ever before. Right when their lips touch again, Miku stops holding back and kisses Yukiya for real, hoping he'll kiss her back. And he does, putting his hand on the back of her head and kissing her deeply, both of them blushing hard. Afterward, Miku asks if he's admitting defeat, but he just sits there speechless. Embarrassed, she rushes home, leaving him alone in the dark, and she convinces herself this means he loves her. As Yukiya walks home, the thought of Miku won't leave his head. He's sure she's the one who kissed him, but he can't believe she'd actually go that far just for the love. Game, and it starts to worry him. Meanwhile, Miku is at home sitting by her grandma's shrine. She tells her grandma how she just kissed Yukiya today and feels proud of it. Then she spots the tiara he gave her, which reminds her of their Sunday date. Suddenly, she bursts into tears over something that crosses her mind. She realizes Yukiya never actually leaned into the kiss himself, meaning he still doesn't see her as a girl. She convinces herself he has zero feelings for her, and that the Pokito game was a stupid idea that just wrecked their friendship, and she cries harder. Then her mind drifts back to her childhood. Back then, Miku was a total loner that nobody liked, except Yukiya. When she got invited to play dodgeball, she'd rather read a book instead, too scared of messing up and ruining the game for everyone, which just made her more of a loner. One day, while doing chores at school, some classmates catch her still relying on Yukiya's help, which embarrasses them. They confront her about it, and at first she just takes it, but then she rushes to the bathroom and cries hysterically while clutching her grandma's charm. Miku could never handle being mocked or yelled at as a kid, because her heart was still shattered from her grandma's death. She always ends up crying whenever she thinks about her. Before her grandma passed, her final wish was for Miku to stop crying, so she could rest in peace, but Miku is stubborn, tells her grandma she refuses to stop crying, so she won't have to let her go. One day, Yukiya brings Miku along to play with his friends. His friends don't want her tagging along since she's just a lonely loser in their eyes. Miku overhears this and decides to just go home, but Yukiya insists she stay. Since there's a big enough group, he suggests they all play tag instead, and everyone gets hyped. That day, they all play tag together, and Miku ends up having the best time of her life because of Yukiya. By the end, the only two laughing with genuine happiness are Yukiya and Miku, creeping everyone else out. One of his friends calls her a weirdo like the Joker, but she doesn't care since she just had the time of her life. And honestly, those words end up moving his friends, making them realize she's actually a great person to be around. From that day on, Miku has tons of friends and is always the first one invited to anything. Yukiya is happy for her and even tells her how cute she looks when she smiles. Hearing that makes her heart skip a beat. From that moment, Miku wants to hear him say that again, and it's the start of her putting in real effort to become cuter, all just so Yukiya would say it once more. Now she's left alone, realizing how low the Poketo game really was. She keeps crying hysterically, convinced Yukiya has no feelings for her, and the memory of that moment just hurts even more. Meanwhile, Yukiya is walking home when he runs into Hinako just getting off her shift. He heads to Masaru's cafe to chill for a bit since Hinako wants to talk to him about something. While they chat, she buys him a slice of cake, and Yukiya decides to ask the adults for some advice. He tells them about Miku's weird behavior lately and how it's been messing with his head, still confused why she'd want to play Poketo when it has nothing to do with the actual love game. Suddenly something clicks in his mind. He has a feeling Miku might have feelings for him, but he can't prove it, and that just makes things harder. He starts replaying the Poketo game in his head and realizes he was the loser who never leaned in himself to give her any sign he liked her back. Hearing all this, Masaru has an answer for him, reminding Yukiya that Miku is still young and her emotions are just as messy as the cake he's currently eating. Masaru advises him to give her some time and stick by her side through it until she can sort her feelings out. Yukiya is genuinely moved by how wise Masaru is, and it helps him figure out his next move. The next morning, Yukiya Yukiya rushes to get ready for school, surprising his whole family. For the first time, he decides to go pick up Miku from her house, confident it'll make her happy. But when he rings her doorbell, nobody answers. He starts spamming that bell like a kid spamming the ban button on Fortnite, but after a few minutes, still nobody answers, which worries him. He calls her, but it goes straight to voicemail, leaving him frustrated. Eventually, he gives up and heads to school, hoping she's already there. When he arrives, he notices she's absent that day, worrying him even more, and he starts overthinking so much it gets on his nerves. He finally works up the courage to ask Natsuki about her, catching her off guard. He learns Miku is sick and staying home. He tells Natsuki that Miku isn't answering his calls or answering the doorbell, which worries her too. Natsuki immediately calls Miku, half expecting the worst. Miku picks up and says she's fine, just sick, but Yukiya notices something off in her voice. Right after Natsuki hangs up, Yukiya decides to skip school and rush straight to Miku's house, realizing that voice was her crying, and he's the reason she was crying in the first place. Meanwhile, Miku is lying in bed feeling feverish, her body temperature through the roof, and she can't believe a guy could actually make her feel this weak. She starts beating herself up, realizing she made Yukiya worry about her again. Someone rings her doorbell, and she doesn't even want to check who it is, but then her phone rings and it's Yukiya saying he's waiting outside, which instantly excites her. Before heading out, she puts on her serious face so he won't see how needy she actually feels. She opens the door and finds him drenched in sweat, holding groceries he bought just for her. She invites him in, and they start talking. Yukiya is worried sick about her, and honestly doesn't care about anything else right now. He checks her temperature and realizes she's burning up, so he lays her back down in bed, tells her to rest, and changes her fever patch. While grabbing her ice pillow, he notices her mom hasn't been around lately, and learns she's just been busy with work. He shows her all the stuff he bought, proving just how much he cares. Then he starts teasing her for barely eating, calling her the crabbiest person in town. He even goes to pray at her grandma's shrine, which makes her blush. He notices the things she's kept all this time, the tiara he gave her, Wakana's book, her grandma's charm, and it reminds him of the little girl who used to cry all the time. He lights up the room a bit, which somehow makes Miku start crying. He soaks a towel so she can clean herself up, starts wiping her face and neck, but stops himself once he sees more of her and just hands it over instead. Both of them get embarrassed, and he teases her about it, making her shy. He goes back to cooking while she cleans up, and hearing her change in the background gets him all flustered. He ends up serving her a microwaved meal, blaming himself for his level 1 crook level cooking skills. She enjoys it anyway and tells him it tastes great, but then starts thinking about what a burden she's been for him, blaming herself for making him worry all the time, and decides she needs to apologize. Right before she can speak, he asks if she's got any leftovers since he's hungry, and she realizes just how rushed he must have been to get here, which makes her blush again. She finally brings up the Pakido game, which makes him panic internally. She wants to apologize for what happened, getting nervous because she already assumes he'll be disgusted that she kissed him just to get his attention, but she's ready to face it anyway. Right as she's about to speak, he cuts her off, completely shifting the mood. He tells her he already knows she kissed him because she was jealous over him getting social media, and he understands exactly how he feels about it. He wanted her to know the account was actually meant for posting pictures of the two of them, like a photo album they could look back on someday. Miku realizes he doesn't even want her apology, and she's relieved, but she still wants to get her feelings out. She tells him she feels like she's been a huge burden and a loser in his life, and that she doesn't think she deserves any more kindness from him, leaving him speechless. Instead of staying quiet, Yukiya tells her how annoyed he actually gets with her bossy and weird behavior sometimes, admitting he has feelings too and can't always just brush it off, and those words hit her like a train. But he's not done. He tells her he doesn't mind any of it because he watched a crybaby little girl grow into someone who can actually talk back to him now, and he genuinely looks up to her for that, admitting he's a little envious of how she keeps getting better every day. He almost tells her he loves that about her, but stops himself right before saying it. Instead, he shows her what he means, standing up and pulling her head into a hug like she's his wife, letting her know she's the person he looks up to and that he wants to thank her by being a better version of himself. She smiles and thanks him back, making him blush. Then he finally says the thing she's been waiting to hear this whole time, telling her she's cute when she smiles, and it hits her like a cold breeze that flips her whole day around for the better. She starts leaning in like she's about to kiss him for real this time, but before it happens, he stops her and snaps a picture instead, just to avoid the awkwardness. Right then, her phone rings. It's Natsuki, calling from lunch with the others, asking if Miku knows where Yukiya went. Miku admits he's at her house taking care of her fever, and that instantly gets Natsuki and everyone else hyped, since they immediately assume the two are officially a couple now. Yukiya can't believe this just happened, and both of them get embarrassed. She hangs up and starts blaming him for making things worse, and just like that, the childhood friends who are clearly in love go right back to acting like normal friends again. But something's still bugging Miku. She feels something inside her she can't quite explain, like her feelings for Yukiya have shifted since that day, getting anxious every time she thinks about him. She feels butterflies in her stomach, finally realizing Yukiya isn't just her ordinary childhood friend anymore. He's the person she actually wants to spend her life with. The next day, Miku is back at school, and everyone's thrilled she's recovered from her fever. Her friends immediately start grilling her about Yukiya, noticing he skipped school the second he heard she was home alone, making them wonder what exactly went down that day. They assume Miku must have done something spicy with him, embarrassing both of them instantly. Yukiya sits alone at his table pretending to sleep, but deep down he's frustrated everyone thinks he and Miku are dating. Meanwhile, the extroverted guys start gossiping about the two of them like a bunch of moms at a coffee morning, saying they don't buy that Yukiya and Miku are dating since they still see him as a lonely loser. Hayato is one of the guys running his mouth, truth, convinced Miku has feelings for him for some dumb, delusional reason. Elsewhere, Miku and Akane have a little chat that catches Miku off guard. Akane tells her she should open up to Yukiya before some random girl swoops in first, hinting she might just be that random girl, which pushes Miku to make a move. Miku knows Akane is just messing with her, but even joking about Yukiya makes her anxious. She realizes Akane has a point, and with butterflies going wild in her stomach, she decides she's done waiting around. She notices she used to not care about sitting far from him, but now she feels the need to sit next to him constantly. Confused about her own feelings, she wants to sort it out immediately. She heads to the restroom with Natsuki and admits how she feels about Yukiya, saying she wants to ask him on a date to eat cake together, which stuns Natsuki. Natsuki thinks Western food is overrated, and that Japanese students should be eating traditional snacks instead, since her parents run a Japanese snack shop, and suggests Miku try something different, like making mochi. That instantly reminds Miku how badly Yukiya's always wanted to try making mochi, giving her an idea. She asks Natsuki to teach her so she can invite him over and make it with him alone. A few days later, Miku shows up at Yukiya's house with groceries, having already bought everything they need, telling him she wants to repay him for looking after her. He has no idea she's really just desperate to be near him, but he doesn't mind at all. While she's watching the recipe video, he tells her to pause it, catching her off guard. She freezes for a couple seconds because he suddenly looks cuter than usual, making her anxious. He calls her out on going quiet, which embarrasses her and worries him. For the next few hours, they work on the filling and the mochi itself, Miku visibly nervous the whole time standing next to him. He notices they ended up making green and pink mochi, which reminds him of the kissing incident. He points out her mochi looks cute while his looks like something an alien would produce. She calls him out on it, but he doesn't think it's a big deal and just hands her his hand, holding it, making her blush. She realizes something's off with her that day, since being held this close to him makes her way more nervous than usual. The old Miku wouldn't have felt this anxious, meaning this time she doesn't want the moment to end. She keeps her composure and grabs the mochi they made. The green and pink pieces remind her of the kiss again, making her shy, but instead of shying away, she shows him she deliberately shaped the mochi to look like they're kissing, stunning him. Still the Riz King, Yukiya responds by eating the pink one right in front of her, making her furious. After she storms off, he picks up one of the leftover pink mochi and realizes it feels just as soft as her lips, still able to feel the warmth of being close to her, wanting more of it. Meanwhile, Miku is in the bathroom splashing water on her face since her emotions are through the roof, unable to stay calm after being that close to him. Like her feelings just evolved into a full-blown Charizard. When she comes back to the kitchen, she's stunned by what she finds. Alone in the kitchen, Yukiya had grabbed a pink mochi and started practicing his kissing technique on it, straight out of American Pie. The two end up arguing about it, which just frustrates Wakana. The next day, Miku tells Kazane about the Pakudo incident. Kazane can't believe how lewd it is, acting like she's never seen anything like it in a movie, and begs for more details, making Miku shy. She eventually opens up about how she felt in the moment, exciting Kazan, but instead of being happy about the kiss, Miku admits she thinks Yukiya regrets it. She realizes her own need for approval is what pushed her to do it, calling it a selfish move, and says she wants to become the kind of cute girl Yukiya will eventually really see, so that next time, he'll kiss her properly. Kazan can't get over how amazing Miku is, like she's just witnessed a miracle, understanding exactly how she feels since they're chasing the same goal, though she worries she can't measure up to her. Just then, a friend shows up with snacks for them, and of course it's Pakuto, absolute nightmare of a coincidence. Right then, Kakeru appears, furious at Kazan. Miku steps away to give them space, but is happy to see Kazana finally making a move with him. In the end, Kazan manages to keep her emotions in check and shares the good news with Miku. Later, Yukiya and Miku hang out at Masaru's cafe talking about the upcoming sports day. Miku mentions she's competing in the cheerleading match and teases that she's got something special planned just for him. Yukiya acts unbothered, even though he's stunned. Meanwhile, Masaru and Hinako watch from a distance. Hinako getting frustrated at how long these two are dragging things out, thinking they should just admit they're in love already. Masaru sees it differently, telling her they're going through the ride of their youth and shouldn't be interrupted since it could affect who they become in the future. Afterward, Yukiya scrolls through his and Miku's shared social media page and decides he needs to become the most handsome guy alive, so she'll be completely devastated falling for him, giving himself until summer to prove he's more than just some loner. The next day, Yukiya meets Miku after school since she texted him saying she has something serious to talk about, but it turns out she just wants his help with origami. The two make origami for her grandma, and by the time they notice the school is closing, the sun is already setting. As they look at each other, Yukiya notices the flower she folded reminds him of her, an origami flower that translates to together with family, like she's silently telling him she wants a family with him. He picks up on it and teases her, making her blush, but she doesn't back down and teases him right back. To be family, they realize they'd have to get married, and Yukiya figures that can only happen once he wins the game, which she agrees to, both of them hinting at real feelings underneath. In the end, the two tell each other how much they love one another, but they both play it off as just another love game joke, even though deep down they both know it's real. Comment down below, stupid game, if you watch till the end. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.